Imagine, it's a crisp spring day in 1946, and a group of neighborhood kids in Hamilton, Ontario are rummaging through a trash heap on the side of Hamilton Mountain, hoping to find something fun amid the post-war scraps. Instead, they unzip a tan suitcase and scream at the sight inside. A decomposed, headless, limbless torso wrapped in a blood-stained blanket. That gruesome discovery would unravel to be one of Canada's most shocking scandals, thrusting a glamorous young socialite named Evelyn Dick into the spotlight as the prime suspect in her husband John's brutal murder. Welcome to Trending Docket. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we're stepping back in time to the torso killer case, the story of Evelyn Dick. Beauty, betrayal, and a body. Get ready for a tale that still haunts true crime lovers nearly 80 years later. To understand this nightmare, we need to start with the people at its heart. John Dick and his wife, Evelyn. John was a 39-year-old steelworker at the Dominion Foundries and Steelworks in Hamilton, Ontario. A hard-working man from a modest family, standing about 5 feet 10 inches tall, with a sturdy build from years of factory labor. Born in Russia in 1906, he immigrated to Canada and settled into the gritty rhythm of post-war industrial life, earning a steady but unremarkable wage. John dreamed of a simple family life, but that changed when he met Evelyn McLean in 1945. Evelyn, just 24 at the time, born October 13, 1920 in Chipman, Alberta, was a far cry from the working-class roots of her childhood. Raised in a poor family that moved east during the Depression, she blossomed into Hamilton's dazzling socialite during World War II, turning heads with her platinum blonde curls, piercing blue eyes, porcelain skin, and a wardrobe exploding with fur coats, silk nylons, and diamonds. Witnesses later described her as a knockout, always dolled up like a movie star, flirting from one admirer to another at local dances and parties. Their courtship was a whirlwind. They married on October 4th, 1945, in a quick civil ceremony at Hamilton City Hall. But cracks formed fast. Evelyn's extravagant spending racked up debts over $2,000. That would be equivalent to about $36,000 in today's money. Evelyn's debt racked up from buying luxury goods on credit, while John was working hard at the mill. Rumors swirled of her affairs, one with a shadowy figure named Bill Bohozuk, just days after their wedding. Bill was a rough-around-the-edges ex-soldier, known for his jealousy and violent temper. Evelyn and John separated just 3 months later, after trying to make it work. Fast forward to Saturday, March 16th, 1946, a date etched in Hamilton's dark history. Around noon, 5 boys were scavenging near the Mountain Brow Boulevard dump on Hamilton Mountain's steep slopes, a rugged, wooded area overlooking the city. Kicking through garbage, they spotted a tan leather suitcase, about 3 feet long, partially buried under newspapers and debris. Curiosity piqued, they unzipped it. Inside, John's mutilated torso, severed at the shoulders and hips, bloated and maggot-ridden from days of decomposition, swaddled in an army blanket soaked crimson with dried blood. The boys fled screaming to a nearby home, alerting police within minutes. This, sadly, would not be the first body in a suitcase that would be found in connection with Evelyn. Hamilton police arrived at the scene by 1:15 p.m., confirming the worst. The remains were male, mid-30s, wearing remnants of a white shirt and belt buckle engraved J. Dick. Evelyn, living at 25 Roslyn Avenue, a modest 2-story brick house in Hamilton's working-class Crown Point neighborhood, was questioned that evening. Cool as ice, she claimed John had left for Toronto on March 6th for a new job and hadn't returned. But suspicion mounted. On March 17th, detectives searched the Dick home. In the basement coal furnace, still smoldering at over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, they found charred fragments. John's skull, shattered by at least 5 blows, his severed arms with defensive wounds, and legs hacked off jaggedly as if by a dull hacksaw. In the attic, they also found a suitcase that contained a concrete-encased body of an infant. It was later proved that it was Evelyn's son, Peter. The investigation exploded into a media circus, with headlines screaming, "Torso Murder Mystery," across Canada. Evelyn and her lover, Bill Bohozik, were arrested March 19th at a Toronto rooming house, charged with first-degree murder of John and manslaughter of the infant. Bohozik, 29, muscular with slicked-back hair and a prison record for assault, had a shaky alibi. He'd been seen arguing with John days before the disappearance. Police pieced together a timeline. John last seen alive March 6th, buying groceries at the A&P on Barton Street. Evelyn spotted dancing at the Savoy Plaza ballroom that night in a new fur coat, laughing off his absence. According to criminologist T.F. Banks in his 1999 book, A Case for Solomon, drawing from original court transcripts and police files preserved in CBC archives, quote, Evelyn's acquittal on the murder hinged on botched forensics. No fingerprints on the hacksaw, contaminated furnace ashes that destroyed DNA long before DNA evidence existed, but the circumstantial web of her debts, lovers, and callous behavior screamed guilt. End quote. Retired detective Brian Buckle, revisiting files for a 2020 CBC interview, added, quote, Bohozik was the butcher. A neighbor saw him carrying a bloody saw blade from the Dick garage on March 6th, and his violent history with rivals fits the frenzied cuts. End quote. The first trial, starting October 7, 1946, at Hamilton Wentworth County Courthouse on Main Street West, was chaos. Evelyn arrived in a tight skirt and red lipstick, wowing the all-male jury amid gasps. Witnesses testified she bragged, "I sawed him up myself." But cross-examination exposed inconsistencies in her stories. Even though most of the evidence was circumstantial, the jury found her guilty, and the judge sentenced her to death. Later, she won her appeal, and with a new trial, she was found guilty again. But this time, her sentence was life in prison to be served at Kingston Prison for Women. Paroled quietly in 1953 after 11 years, Evelyn vanished to Vancouver, dying in 2005 at 84, always protesting her innocence. The Evelyn Dick case shatters illusions of the perfect marriage, reminding us how glamour can mask monstrosities and betrayals. John's parents grieved publicly. His sister wept in court, forever scarred by a love turned lethal. Trending docket. If this episode